What's going on, football fans? It's me, JR Clark, back with another Pound for Pound ATL live. Not live. That's wrong. Joined by my main man, Toby D. Toby, what's going on, brother?
Man, ain't nothing going on, boy. We get so used to doing live shows when we're together, we forget if we record it or if we're doing it live. But however the case, we are here. Pound for pound, ATL is in the house.
That's right. And we come together today because yesterday we had the open OTAs, which I was lucky enough to be able to get off work to go attend. And for all the people who come up to me to, shake my hand, take a picture, just chat with me, I really appreciate that. Y'all made me feel real special, probably more special than I needed to feel. Um, and it was an awesome experience. And I thank you all for interacting with me like that, because that was an awesome experience, and we wouldn't be here without people like y'all. Like,
Yeah,
and that's no BS, no fluff. Like, if y'all didn't watch or didn't pay attention, then we wouldn't be doing this. Me and Toby would just be talking on the phone instead of pointing the camera at ourselves. So,
yes. Speaking of that, real quick, before we get started, because we don't do this often, but our success relies on you guys. Like JR said, we want to be here. So if you see this video and you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. Share, like, comment, all those beautiful things, because it is going to help us reach our 5,000 subscribers ultimate goal, which we are like 70 subscribers away right now.
right.
All right. Sorry, JR.
No, it's all good. It's
Put it
all good.
out there.
If there's one thing me and you aren't very good at, and that's self promotion.
Yeah.
So that's something I've vowed this year to get a little bit better at, as far as the channel is concerned. But anyway, on to the important bits and why everybody is here and watching this channel. Yesterday, like I said, I attended the Open OTA down at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which they did a super good job of putting it on. This time around, they allowed you to get in the club level, the Delta Sky Club, down there on the field where you see those openings where people are always up on the fence or whatever. So we were able to get down there and get close to field access, which was really cool to see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Being that close to the players and coaches is always an awesome and fun experience. But this, with it being OTAs, they weren't showing a ton, and they didn't do like the normal team scrimmage like they do for like training camp or the salute to service type stuff. But what they did do was some pretty extensive 7-on-7s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we started out obviously with just your normal drills, and you didn't really see a ton there, other than Isaiah Oliver actually looked pretty good moving through his agility drills, which I was nice to see. While he was doing that, he did have a brace on his knee, but later on in the day, he didn't have one on. So I don't know if he was necessarily. I didn't see him participating in the actual drills other than like the warm up drills. So I think they're still like bringing him along slowly.
Right.
Obviously, Debo wasn't there. A lot of people were commenting on that when I had the taking the picture of the linebacker group standing together. People were asking me, "Oh, where's Debo?" It's like, well, okay, he's still rehabbing from that shoulder surgery, and they already announced that he was going to be off, throughout the whole off season. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know if that means that he won't be back until training camp or what have you, but as of right now, Debo was not on the field yesterday. Neither was CP84. Um, yeah, neither was Cordell Patterson. He's skipping on OTAs, which they're voluntary, so no big deal there. Same thing with Casey Hayward. Casey Hayward wasn't there either. So, and I think there was one other one I'm not 100% sure that was missing yesterday, but they had already come out and said that those guys weren't going to be at OTAs. I would
Yeah.
expect them.
Vincent Taylor also. Vincent Taylor,
That's
because
it.
he's rehabbing
Right.
an injury from last year. Yeah.
So, I mean, but I expect, Hayward and Cordell Patterson to be there on, when it's mandatory.
Yeah.
So I don't foresee any real problems there. But I guess let's get into some of the plays and some of the clips that I grabbed, I was able to record a handful of the 7-on-7 drills, which was the more important drills that they were doing yesterday. It gave you a little bit of an insight on the like scheme that's being implemented, and you got to see like the ball coming out of Mariota and Ritter's hands. So first up that I want to play is the mesh concept. Now, before I actually hit play on this, last year a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we run a ton of mesh," and I went back and looked. Last year we didn't run a ton of mesh. We ran a lot of crossers, and I know this is going to sound nitpicky, but mesh is about 4 to 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, and the two players that come and make that mesh, they're real close to each other, like almost to where they can high five when they run by each other. And some coaches actually teach them to high five when they come across each other to make sure that they're real close. So anyway, that's nitpicky, but I'm saying that to say what I saw yesterday was a true mesh route, a true mesh concept. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play on that one. So for ones, they break huddle here, and you got it's London, and I think yeah, you're motioning the tight end again. One of the tight ends, 43, and it's the tight ends that run the mesh, which I thought was interesting. So normally you would have slot receivers running the mesh, or a slot receiver and maybe a tight end or something like that. But they were running that mesh out of that 12 personnel, or yeah, 2 tight ends. So I thought that was an interesting little look there. So you imagine doing that with Kyle Pitts and Ferkser.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, I said a lot of times, the benefit of having a big body receivers is because they can bump through traffic a little bit more physically than most of the smaller guys. And I think you're going to see that benefit heavily this year in some of these route concepts that we run, that we're able to go across the middle, especially them shallow crosses on the mesh routes that you normally like to run with the mesh concepts that you'll do.
exactly. And I think that was the intent of going out and getting guys like Bryan Edwards and Auden Tate, and
Yeah,
drafting Drake London as guys who can handle that going across the middle like that, bang their way through that traffic and not really get slowed up. Now,
yeah,
speaking of Bryan Edwards, he had a really nice sideline catch that got the whole crowd hyped. A type of sideline catch that I ain't gonna lie to you, Toby, I hadn't seen since Mohamed Sanu and Julio Jones,
yeah.
were here. So I'm gonna go ahead and play that clip now.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
That was a really good one. I really enjoyed it, and it was Mariota who threw the ball, which was really nice to see.
Yeah,
Really nice to see that ball coming out. And now you got London. He's lined up on the left hand side, and they motion into a bunch, which I saw a lot of bunch formation yesterday. And then Edwards takes off and runs that post route, or corner route rather, and makes that catch falling down. That's the
yeah. I'm
part
gonna
that
talk about that in a minute. There's a purpose for that.
yeah, go
But
ahead.
no, because see, so you have what you call back shoulder throws, and you have what I call front side throws, which
Mm-hmm.
are in essence fade routes, right? And one of the things I said on Twitter is that you're going to see a lot of fade routes and back shoulder throws being thrown, especially with a lot of these athletic big body receivers, which are very hard for a cornerback, especially with the speed, because you're going to play on, his aggressiveness with that speed and be able to use those fade routes and back shoulder throws to still catch football without the defender being in your way, because he's going to be so overly aggressive with his speed trying to keep up with you. So a lot of times you'll see guys run these fade routes where they will fade back when they jump up and catch them and fade back. And so what you saw there was a fade route that you're going to see a lot of going toward the sideline with guys like Bryan Edwards. And this is why you get guys like Bryan Edwards and Drake London, because you saw Drake London do a lot of these back shoulder catches and fade routes great when he was in college. So you're going to see that again this year from those two guys especially.
Right. And also if you look at like, Desmond Ritter's tape, when he took deep shots, they tended to be like those fade routes, and
Yeah.
so it was something that he should be pretty comfortable with. And if you
Yeah.
watch that 2020 Chargers game, that was a type of route that Mariota threw to. That was a type of catch that Waller had,
Yeah.
for that touchdown. So yeah, it was that was really nice to see because, like I said, we hadn't seen that type of body adjustment in a few years here.
Yeah.
So on to the next concept that we saw that I really enjoyed, and it was a high low concept. You had like the dual like in breaking routes, one in an intermediate, one a little bit deeper, and what made me kind of like giddy about it was they motioned to Drake London and Kyle Pitts being on the same side of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, it was in like another bunch formation. So we'll see. They're breaking huddle hill here, and I think it's Pitts that goes into motion with Drake London, and I think it might be Edwards up front, but I'm not sure. It might be somebody else. But you get that high low concept with Pitts clearing out the bottom part, and he's going to command a lot of attention, especially coming off of that 1,000-yard rookie season. So if a lot of guys get caught up with him, having somebody like Drake London, behind him, is a winning formula if the O line can
Oh
hold
yeah.
up.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be the question: is can the O line hold up? Like I had I don't have the clip loaded up here, but I had a clip where they were doing basically just O line D line drills, and I keep hitting the mic. Nah, I changed the orientation of my mic, and I'm not used to it being right here. Anyway, so and there was a hotly contested debate on Twitter of which O lineman actually flinched and caused an offsides. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's Mayfield, it's Mayfield." I'm pretty sure it wasn't Mayfield. I don't think he was in on that one. I think it was Leonard, Rick Leonard, maybe. But anyway, so if you want to see that clip, that one's on my Twitter. Now I want to talk about the one thing that I caught that was really interesting, which was Feleipe Franks.
Yeah.
Feleipe Franks. Now I noticed when they broke out, he was initially standing with Mariota and with Ritter. Man, my mind went blank. Anyway, with Ritter, but he was wearing a white jersey instead of a quarterback red jersey. And as they broke to start doing the positional drills, he practiced the entire day with the tight ends. And I found that to be pretty interesting. I know that they said last year that he was practicing with tight ends, but they didn't make an announcement like they did with Avery Williams that he was transitioning to tight end. And on the site, they still have him listed as a QB, but he did the entire practice yesterday as a tight end. What do you think he actually has a chance of sticking there?
Yeah, so they started this experiment last year, and in a couple of games, he actually was in there as a tight end. Didn't have much effect in the game being a tight end in the game with Matt Ryan, but he was in there a few times in tight end snaps. So they're gonna get this year to try that again and see if it works. And the route that he ran was great. It wasn't of course perfect because he's still learning that position and running routes or whatever, but he just got to learn how better technique wise to, fall forward and leap forward and catch the football because the football was right there for him to use his nice big body because he's a tall dude,
Right. Yeah, he's a big guy. And it was a good ball that was thrown.
Yeah.
And he just, just a little bit too late. He didn't judge it correctly enough. But that will come with time.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Mariota who threw him that ball.
I believe so.
I'm going to play that clip again. Let me just see if I can. Yeah, it was Mariota. So that means, in a sense, like there is no really like ones or twos right now.
Yeah.
But in a sense, right now you have the feeling that Mariota is your presumed starter.
Yeah. It's his job to do.
Right. And so for Franks to be out there, trying to catch a ball from Mariota, is an interesting sign as
Yeah.
well. Now, speaking of tight ends, obviously the unicorn, Kyle Pitts
Yeah.
was doing Kyle Pitts like things yesterday, even during practice. One thing that caught my attention with Pitts was him being glued to the quarterbacks. Like you would see Mariota and Ritter standing together talking, and 9 times out of 10, Pitts was right there with them, and either listening to what the coaches had to say, or just like you could tell that he was trying to build that rapport
Right.
with both of those guys, and rightfully so, as being pretty much the focal point of this offense. I would imagine going definitely going forward.
Mhm.
Him and Drake London are going to be your receiving threats
Right.
for the most part. So at least on paper and by like draft value. But to see Pitts, being that involved, or that up close with the quarterbacks all day long, was really interesting to see. And then the play that I caught from Pitts was a nice little the nice like adjustment route. Like he made Troy Anderson like look like a rookie in the sense, and it wasn't really, but that's what you want Pitts to do. Like
Yeah.
whether like you want Pitts to do this to all the linebackers, and so it was like a real in-breaking route, but he starts outside and then comes back in. He goes, and gets Troy Anderson really turned around,
Yeah.
which was really nice to see. That had the crowd hyped, and showed some real good athleticism there by Pitts.
Yeah, that was a nice clip. But here's the thing, seeing you're gonna get this too from these big body wide receivers. They're not only big body, but they're athletic, and how they're able to move. So when you got guys that's 6'4", 6'5", 215, like a Drake London and Kyle Pitts, you're gonna probably see a lot more of these pivot routes, is what I
Right,
call them, or to modern day is whip routes.
right,
Wes Welker was one of the best to do those whip routes, man. He would kill you with those, him and Tom Brady, and when he was over there with the Denver Broncos. But it's hard to defend a guy like that, even with the speed that Troy Anderson has, because when you got somebody like Kyle Pitts with that long reach and
mm-hmm,
6'5" like that, who can run those whip routes like that, that's going to be a route that's going to be difficult to defend for a lot of defenders out there trying to defend that, whether it's a linebacker or a cornerback, depending on where they're coming from out of the slot or on the outside. But yeah, that was a nice pivot route by Kyle Pitt on that clip that Troy Anderson was trying to defend.
and like other than not being able to like stick with him on that break, I mean he was in his hip pocket the whole way
Oh yeah,
through,
yeah.
and
And
he
that loop
wasn't.
hat.
What's that?
I tell the loop had it.
Yeah,
Because the loop that's in that whip route, that's where you get lost.
yes, and but just like we said back in the day with like Trufant and Julio Jones, like you
Yeah,
wanted Trufant going against Julio, and
yeah.
for Troy Anderson, you want him going against Kyle Pitts, like straight up
Mm-hmm.
and down. Like that's what's going to make Troy Anderson better, is seeing, because like as we said, how many tight ends in the league are like Kyle Pitts? What,
Right.
one, two? Travis Kelsey and George Kittle. That's really about it. So if he can almost get there with Kyle Pitts, then Evan Ingram or Kyle Rudolph, or not that they're slouches, but he should be able to get there with them,
Yeah,
because those guys don't have the necessarily elite talent that Kyle Pitts does.
yeah.
So the last play that I want to bring up is because you can't just like we always get like, especially talking about draft season, you can't just always look at just the highlights. If you look at just highlights, we can make anybody look good, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so the one we had there weren't many. I'm not gonna lie, there weren't many miscues yesterday. I think we had an errant punt early on that I didn't record, but there wasn't very many miscues. But this was one of the miscues, and it was with our boy Drake London. Now
Mm-hmm.
you called it a choice route, which is probably
Yeah.
right, and right now uh, the sync isn't there with
Right.
London and the QBs. So he broke in, and Mariota, saw it as he should have stayed out.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can say that that's a bad route by London. He just probably made the wrong choice there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that stuff will get cleaned up. But like I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't show at least some miscues.
Yeah, that play right there looks like a choice route to me.
Mm-hmm.
Mariota saw something more different in the coverage, which led him to want to throw the ball deep instead of London going in on a in route.
Right.
But that's something that it takes time to have to read coverages and see what your quarterback sees for those choice routes to work. Now, I can't show it right here in the diagram because I don't have that diagram on me. But when we
Right.
get off here, JR, I'll show you which one it was. but you know, that definitely to me looked like it was a choice route set up, and Mariota just saw something different in coverage that London either saw or didn't
Right.
see, which made him run it in instead of continuing to run it on the outside.
Yeah, now I know a lot of these clips are highlighted and focused on the offense, but some of the interesting things from the defense is they were doing a lot of swapping in and out on the safety combos. I saw Dean Marlowe? I know his name starts with a D. Marlowe.
Yeah, Team
Yeah,
Marlowe.
Dean Marlowe was out there with Richie Grant. He was also out there with Jalen Hawkins. You saw Eric Harris. They were still doing a lot of, switching in and out with the safety combo, and the same deal with the linebacker combo. I saw quite a bit with Rashawn Evans and Mikael Walker, but you also had, you know, Troy Anderson with Evans. You had Walker and Kwiatkowski in the middle together. I didn't see hardly any three linebacker sets. It was a lot of 4-2-5. As
Mm,
far as the defensive formation went. And when it was two outside linebackers, it was Lorenzo Carter and Ogundeji. I don't remember actually seeing um, Ebiketie and D'Angelo out
mm.
there with what I would consider to be. I never saw them out there with Grady Jarrett. So Grady Jarrett is my that's the first team rep. When I
Yeah.
see Grady out there, I'm like, okay, that's the what I'm calling the first team.
Mm,
But when the first team was lined up, you on the other side where they had Ritter and Troy Anderson, a lot of those guys, you did have Ebiketie and Malone.
yeah.
So they're already getting familiar with working with each other. But yeah, I think starting the season, unless they get into camp and just blow doors, I think to start the season, you're gonna your main pass rushers are going to be Lorenzo Carter and Adi Ogundeji. Is
Oh, okay.
that's at least that's what I'm seeing right now in OTAs. We could get to training camp and see something completely different by then. But right now, I think that's how it's going to go, and that also kind of goes in line with the things that they've said about Ogundeji, and B, what we've seen from Dean Pease really liking to use veterans.
Yeah.
So, Ogundeji is going to have to be unseated. You
All
know,
right.
another year in Pease's system bodes well for him, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree.
I'm trying to think of some other tidbits. Avery Williams actually looked pretty comfortable on the running back side. He looked like he belonged there, which I was kind of curious about. He was going through, the running back drills, catching the ball out of the backfield. He almost had a pretty good catch from Mariota, but it was against AJ Terrell, and Terrell was locking everybody down.
Yeah. So interesting about that. Terry Fontenot explained that because the idea sprung from the fact that he was a running back in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry was talking about that on, 929 the game about the watching his high school film and how good he was in high school as a running back. So they wanted to experiment with that. What some they talked about it when they drafted him,
Right.
that they would look to experiment with him being in that role. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, like I said, he looked good. He didn't look. I'll tell you this: if you would have never told me that he was drafted as a cornerback, I would not have thought he was a cornerback.
Mm,
He's put together more like a running back. So it'll be interesting to see how he competes in that room with no real right now, no real clear cut RB1. At least in my opinion, because I don't necessarily count Cordell Patterson as RB1. He's OW1. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, but Algier looked pretty good from what I could see from him. It's hard to really tell with running backs. You're not getting any kind of like bumps at all. Nobody's in pads, so it's just, yeah, it's just kind of really hard to gauge where a running back is at. He was running he was running routes with the rest of them. Looked pretty good doing that, catching the ball over the middle. So couldn't really see the O linemen. They were on the way far side of the field. So it was hard to tell like who was next to Jake Matthews and Lindstrom, which are the only positions that I'm considering locked in right now. So I don't know how often they were switching, but that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on going into training camp. So
Yeah, that's when the competition really starts. Right now, it's just figuring out what works best for your personnel and
mhm.
installing the playbook. So it's not really any true competition at this point. You
Well,
just getting picture images.
right. But overall, I think the atmosphere was really good. The energy of the team was good. The energy of the crowd that was there was good. I think they did a good thing by opening up an OTA this early with so many like question marks and so many unknowns as far as the most important position at quarterback, and you don't necessarily have a solid face of the franchise as of right this moment.
Yeah,
Some people might consider it Grady, some people consider it AJ Terrell or even Kyle Pitts. So it's good for them to open it up and get the fan base really energized. One conspiratorial interesting thing I have is none of the helmets had the Falcon logo on them. Like none of them. And I don't ever remember seeing that. Now, I don't know if they just hadn't put them on there yet because it's OTAs, but nobody had the Falcon on the side of their helmet. So I don't know if Arthur Smith's doing this whole you got to earn it type thing.
I love it if he is.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That is smart. I'm telling you right now. That got my soul excited. If this is purposely that he's doing that, that is smart.
I don't know, but
Smart.
that was something somebody pointed out, and and once it got brought to my attention, I really started looking. Not a single helmet had the Falcon on it. None of them. They were all matte black. They had their names on the back, but none of them had the logo. So I don't know if that's a sign of things to come, as far as like maybe they're going to that red helmet all the way, all season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or is it like that old college mentality of you got to earn your name on your back, or earn the logo on the helmet kind of thing. So it was just that. It was just a little interesting tidbit.
Yeah. Boy, if he is, like I said, if he's doing that, that's genius. I'll tell you what, because man, you really talk about getting guys energized and hungry to win spots.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They have to do stuff like that psychologically. That yeah, that's pretty cool. If that's what's happening. I
yeah.
don't know.
I wonder if anybody will ask him about it, ask the coach about it. But man, that's all I got. That's my report from OTA practice. You got any other like questions or tidbits or something I didn't cover that you were wanting to hear?
I just want to say thank you. Shout out to you for being able to, get time out of your work day. A lot of guys,
Yeah,
wouldn't be able to get that kind of time with their job. Thank the job. Y'all thank JR's job for
yeah,
allowing
right,
him to really
exactly.
get that half day to go and check out our lovely Atlanta Falcons 2022 roster this year. So thank you, JR.
That's right. And again, thank you for the folks who stopped me and shook my hand. That was I know I said it at the top of the show, but that was an awesome experience. And if I'm ever at an event, whether it's training camp, a game, whatever, please come up and say hello, because that's an awesome experience. But if you don't live here and you want to interact with me or Toby, either one, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128. That's GRIMM1128. Toby?
Toby D 1991.
And always, you can leave a comment, like, share, all that good fun stuff. Subscribe to the Patreon if you want it. You'll get to see some behind the scenes kind of stuff and different things like that. Join a Discord chat. So that's there for you. Merch if you want merch, and all those links are in the bio. But yeah, as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
That's up.
That was pretty good. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see how everything look when you get done. You let me know how the videos and all that.
Yeah, because it should be pretty good.
Yeah.
And so what's going to happen is there's going to be 2 uploads on YouTube. One of them will be unlisted, so don't think something went wrong, okay? Because I'm going to like upload the whole raw file to the Patreon, and then I'll upload the edited, and I'll have the edited one out by 5 p.m. tonight.
Okay. All right.
I appreciate you.
Y'all at work time.
Yep. Hey, man, I appreciate you jumping on.
Come on.
It was much easier to do this with you than just sit here and do this by myself. So.
Oh, man, you would have killed me.
I know. I mean,
you got all the info. I couldn't really see the video, but I had to just kind of,
Yeah, but you brought that good insight that I forget about, like, the actual like names of the routes and stuff that leaves my mind when I'm trying to talk about it. Like you, so that's the reason why I was like, man, if you could jump on, that would be great. So anyway, get to that yard work before it gets too hot. We'll holler at you, man.
Yeah, man. I gotta go. All right.